Comenzó con una defensa de alambres de púas que dividía a una ciudad. Que hacía prisionera a su gente. El máximo símbolo de la Guerra Fría, el muro de Berlín. La Guerra Fría, el muro de Berlín, 1958-1963. Memphis, Tennessee, marzo 1958.
Do solemnly swear that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the United States of America.
Give us a room with a view of the beautiful Rhine.
Elvis Presley llega a Alemania Occidental.
The well-known guitarist has come to bolster NATO forces, in particular a 3rd U.S. Armored Division tank unit.
I got those up 2, 3, 4 occupation GI Blue.
Alemania Occidental era el frente de la OTAN en la cortina de hierro. Desde 1955, Estados Unidos había estado entrenando al nuevo ejército de Alemania Occidental. Algunos pensaban que era como si Alemania tuviese control sobre el poder nuclear de la OTAN. El rearme alemán les trajo malos recuerdos a muchos europeos, principalmente a los rusos. La llegada del nuevo armamento alarmó a Alemania Oriental, la República Democrática Alemana.
Die DDR hat ja nun versucht, verschiedene Angebote zu machen, einer nuklear...
The GDR made various offers to prevent the nuclear armament of West Germany.
vorzubeugen, aber sie hat da...
But it found no response, no echo.
gefunden und darum fühlte sich die DDR...
The GDR felt directly threatened by tactical nuclear weapons.
taktischen Atomwaffen fühlte sich bedroht.
It accepted that the Soviet army, stationed on GDR territory, also should arm itself with tactical nuclear weapons.
mit taktischen Atomwaffen.
Berlín, ubicada dentro del territorio de Alemania Oriental, estaba bajo la ocupación conjunta de los aliados de la guerra. En Berlín Occidental, 12.000 soldados británicos, estadounidenses y franceses se encontraban rodeados por 500.000 efectivos de la Unión Republicana Social Soviética y Alemania Oriental. El derecho de acceso a la zona occidental estaba garantizado por un acuerdo entre las potencias. Diariamente, miles de personas transitaban libremente entre el lado occidental y el lado soviético. La frontera abierta de Berlín permitía a los alemanes orientales tener acceso al glamour de Occidente, algo que los líderes soviéticos y los de Alemania Oriental querían detener.
Westberlin immer gefährlicher wurde für die Existenz der DDR und damit auch für die Existenz des Sozialismus. Und daraus
West Berlin was becoming increasingly dangerous to the existence of the GDR and the existence of socialism.
Stadt Berlin zu gründen mit einem
Khrushchev proposed to create a free city of Berlin with special rights of its own, with its own foreign policy, its own police, and its own symbolic foreign forces.
Khrushchev thought that some pressures should be put on the Americans, and the obvious place was West Berlin. So that this was a sort of shock therapy on the part of Khrushchev, I would say.
En noviembre de 1958, Occidente rechazó la propuesta de Khrushchev sobre Berlín. El soviético propuso entonces al líder de Alemania Oriental, Walter Ulbricht, un tratado de paz. Era una amenaza para los derechos de Occidente sobre Berlín.
He said that unless agreement were reached, that Berlin would be turned over to the East Germans within 6 months. We regarded that as an ultimatum. Eisenhower felt that the Soviets were doing something that was not really in their interest. His view was that if there were to be actual conflict between the United States and the Soviet Union, it would move quickly to large-scale, all-out conflict where everything would be drawn into it, and that was the danger, that was the risk.
A new red threat to West Berlin. Khrushchev's demand that the United States, France, and Britain agree to end the four-power pact governing West Berlin, turning it over to Red East Germany, hints a new and major crisis. The Western powers reacted strongly, affirming their determination to keep the city free. It's an outpost.
El secretario de Estado estadounidense John Foster Dulles, en un esfuerzo por lograr un trato justo para ambas partes, consultó a los aliados de Estados Unidos. Pero las conversaciones entre Occidente y la Unión Soviética fueron infructuosas.
The attempt to find a compromise with the Soviets was where we began to get into serious trouble, because any concessions that you made to the Soviets from the Western side would be an erosion of the Western position there. And the Soviets themselves were committed to a situation in Berlin that the Allies could not tolerate. So we were already, there was no possible outcome, a negotiated outcome that was possible.
Sin embargo, las conversaciones persuadieron a Khrushchev de postergar su ultimátum sobre Berlín y de ir a Occidente. Para el viaje escogió el avión más grande del mundo y por supuesto lo había hecho la Unión Soviética. En septiembre de 1959, Nikita Sergeyevich Khrushchev se convirtió en el primer líder soviético en visitar Estados Unidos.
Khrushchev got what he wanted, which was a visit to the United States and treatment as an equal, and an exchange with Eisenhower, which gave him, I think, a fair idea that probably if he continued without too much provocative actions on the ground, he could get more and more out of the Western side.
Las conversaciones con Eisenhower proporcionaron un nuevo espíritu de cooperación que alivió la crisis. Pero las esperanzas de Khrushchev de lograr una tregua en la Guerra Fría solo duraron 6 meses. En la víspera de una importante cumbre para la paz en París, un avión espía estadounidense fue derribado en el espacio aéreo soviético. Khrushchev estaba encolerizado.
Зачем нам угрожать? Но для этого что требуется? Не летайте вы в Советский Союз, не летайте вы в социалистические страны. Уважайте суверенитет и знайте границу. Не знаете границ? Ударим. Ударим, обучим уму-разуму.
La cumbre fue un fracaso aún antes de haber comenzado. ...1959... Alemania Oriental celebraba 10 años de éxitos socialistas. Walter Ulbricht, líder del partido, se jactaba de un desarrollo industrial acelerado y de una democracia nunca antes vista en Alemania gracias al socialismo. Las filmaciones oficiales mostraban un paraíso para los obreros y campesinos. Pero la realidad era escasez y caos. Las granjas privadas eran colectivizadas por la fuerza y los recursos del Estado se destinaban a la industria pesada a expensas de los bienes de consumo. Alemania Oriental copió obedientemente el modelo soviético hasta el punto de controlar los pensamientos de su gente.
Und so turnten dann 400 Einwohner Leipzigs gemeinsam mit Walter Ulbricht.
Alemania Oriental, según sus líderes, estaba triunfando gracias a una fuerza de voluntad férrea. Pero a pesar del trabajo duro y el entusiasmo, la economía solo se mantenía gracias al apoyo soviético. Alemania Oriental no podía competir con la grandiosa prosperidad del oeste.
The people in the East looked toward the West. That's what I might say, longing. They would have liked to have the same comforts, the same goods, the same chances. And they saw in what was called socialism at the time a system that demanded of them sacrifices with nothing but promises for the future. And as long as the borders were open, it was relatively easy to get there. All you had to do is board a subway, and you were in another world. And it was really a crazy system. Imagine you go from socialism, in quotation marks, to capitalism in 2 minutes.
Cada mes, miles de alemanes huían del lado oriental cruzando la línea fronteriza de Berlín para buscar refugio en el lado occidental. La mayoría de ellos eran trabajadores calificados y jóvenes. Su partida estaba desangrando mortalmente la economía de Alemania Oriental.
Foreman in a plant in the east wouldn't know how many workers he still would have the next day because part of his working force had left him, had left the East, had left the system in order to go over there. And of course, in West Germany, they made every effort that people who came from the East would get jobs and would get comfortable existence.
La fuga de su gente ponía a Ulbricht cada vez más nervioso. Instó a Khrushchev a declarar a Alemania Oriental Estado soberano con control sobre sus fronteras. Khrushchev, aparentemente de acuerdo, dio largas a la decisión.
Diese Idee eines separaten Friedens mit der DDR wurde mehr lanciert von Ulbricht.
The idea of a separate peace treaty with the GDR was put forward mainly by Ulbricht, who wanted to bind the GDR into fixed treaties and link it politically with other countries. But Khrushchev argued that a separate peace treaty would intensify the Cold War.
Den Kalten Krieg nicht entschärft, sondern im Gegenteil verschärft.
Ulbricht afirmó que no podría haber una paz duradera en Europa, a menos que se reconociera Alemania Oriental y Occidental como estados. Pero Moscú no tenía apuro. El asunto alemán debía esperar hasta después de las elecciones presidenciales en Estados Unidos. John F. Kennedy tomó el poder en enero de 1961. Durante su campaña enfatizó la necesidad de una política externa más firme.
I don't think the communists are about to collapse. I believe we have to build strength. We have to stand for freedom. We have to demonstrate some vigor in our foreign policy.
Kennedy aceptó ver a Khrushchev en Viena en junio de 1961. A su llegada, su imagen no era de triunfo. 6 semanas antes, la invasión en Bahía de Cochinos en Cuba había fracasado. Khrushchev concluyó que Kennedy era débil. Decidió intimidar al nuevo presidente.
He felt that this young new president, unexperienced, specifically after he has a fiasco at Bay of Pigs, and came rather with not very strong position. He said, look here, already so many years passed, Western countries do nothing about Germany and the peace treaty and about specifically West Berlin. So I am going to press this issue very strongly with the meeting with the new president.
What Khrushchev kept saying was that we surround all those troops you have in West Berlin, and we could take West Berlin anytime we want to. And Kennedy's reply to him was, well, as may be, but we fought the Second World War, and they're there because of the Second World War by right.
He became very emotional, very angry. This young fellow doesn't want to discuss with me the issue, which is very important. And this make it very angry, and really it influenced his attitude. So it's he has a mixed feeling about. From one thing, he accepted he is tough, but from the other, he said that he is not wise enough. Doesn't understand quite well the foreign policy.
The meeting was unproductive, and the longer it went on, the more that became apparent. It was difficult. It was disappointing. It left us with a Berlin crisis that was still active and on which no progress had been made.
At the summer White House in Hyannisport, Massachusetts, Defense Secretary McNamara and Secretary of State Dean Rusk confer with President Kennedy on the increasingly ominous words and actions from Moscow. Premier Khrushchev's increase in...
Khrushchev había lanzado de nuevo su ultimátum y aumentado el presupuesto soviético de armas. Kennedy pidió a sus consejeros describir las opciones militares del país.
It was conceivable there would only be two alternatives: surrender or use of nuclear force, which might well have brought destruction of both East and West. So the president was very anxious to find a middle course.
En julio, Kennedy pidió al Congreso fondos adicionales para la defensa y llamó a los reservistas a prepararse.
The source of world trouble and tension is Moscow, not Berlin. And if war begins, it will have begun in Moscow and not Berlin. For the choice of peace or war is largely theirs, not ours.
Of all the presidents in this Cold War period, I think the nuclear issue bore hardest on Kennedy. He took it very seriously, and he was sometimes afraid that the good Lord had put him on earth to start a nuclear war, really. And he was not about to get out of Berlin, no matter what it took.
It would be a mistake for others to look upon Berlin because of its location as a tempting target. The United States is there. The United Kingdom and France are there. The pledge of NATO is there. And the people of Berlin are there. It is as secure in that sense as the rest of us, for we cannot separate its safety from our own.
So he made very clear that he is going to defend status of West Berlin and the presence of their troops there. But when he mentioned this one, we noticed one thing, that in his speech he mentioned that the line between West and East Berlin are a line of freedom. And he didn't say anything about the freedom of the movement across this line, East Berlin and West Berlin.
It is a fact that we were not going to fight about what the Soviets did on their side of Berlin, and that it is quite likely that Khrushchev was helped to understand that American position by the July speech.
A medida que la crisis de Berlín empeoraba, el flujo de refugiados se convirtió en un torrente. Aumentaba el temor de que Alemania Oriental se convirtiera en un caos y que las fuerzas de la OTAN y las soviéticas se enfrentaran.
Everybody knew that something is going to happen. Not necessarily only from the atmosphere, but for weeks, thousands and thousands of people have come across. And everybody realized that in some way or another, East Germany will have to react.
Para julio, los alemanes del este estaban desesperados. Rogaron a los soviéticos les permitieran encargarse de las fugas.
Заявление Ульбрихта в беседе с нашим послом говорило только о следующем.
Ulbricht indicated to our ambassador that they were fed up with the promises we'd given them to sign a peace treaty and take control. Promises which had been made in 1958, 59, 60, and again in 1961. Ulbricht said that all these promises did was to stimulate the population drain. Either we had to act or stop talking about it.
El control de la frontera en Alemania Oriental se intensificó. Sin que la inteligencia occidental lo supiera, Khrushchev y Ulbricht planeaban medidas más severas.
Sometime later, a reply came back from Moscow. But Nikita Sergeyevich Khrushchev agrees to the closing of the border with West Germany and with West Berlin, and suggests the necessary preparations should be carried out.
The National People's Army, the People's Police, the Customs State Security, the Transport Authority were all brought together in the Berlin area. They were put under strict observation, and they were not allowed to telephone their families. They didn't even have a telephone. For 4 to 6 weeks, they worked in total isolation on the preparations.
El 12 de agosto, las fuerzas soviéticas y de Alemania Oriental comenzaron a movilizarse.
At 23 hours, we were given our orders and told that at 24 hours, the border with West Berlin would be closed by military force. All the soldiers were fully armed. The People's Militia had automatic pistols and machine guns, any weapons they could get hold of.
En la mañana, las tropas orientales estaban listas, alineadas en posición de combate a lo largo de la frontera de su sector. Fueron las últimas horas de Berlín como una sola ciudad. En la mañana del domingo del 13 de agosto, los berlineses se encontraron con una ciudad dividida. Equipos de trabajadores supervisados por guardias construían una barrera de alambres de púas en el centro.
Khrushchev, preparing to this event, would have done everything to minimize, or rather to prevent, any military conflict between us and the United States and Western countries. Specifically, Ulbricht was told by Khrushchev 2 days before this was happening that he, Ulbricht, could build this wall, but he should not infringe even an inch of American and Western rights. So we expect very strong reaction, but we didn't expect any military clash between us.
La barrera dividió a Berlín. Las familias fueron separadas.
My father actually woke me up and said, you know, they closed the border. It was incomprehensible. You know, it was so strange. And then my mother came in crying, and my elder sister, and we were thinking, you know, how do we get my sister back? My sister that summer had stayed with my aunt just outside of East Berlin. So we all took the S-Bahn, and it was an absolute chaos. It was terrible. People crying, shouting. Some were frightened, some were angry. And I just remember I was so frightened. I thought, we never see my sister. She's lost, so to speak.
A pitiful old woman timidly walked up the 3 stairs to one of these trapos and said, when is the next train to West Berlin? Because all these people hadn't heard. The first news was at midnight over the East Berlin radio, and these people came to the station thinking they could go to West Berlin. And I'll never forget the sneering tone in which this trapo said to her, none of that anymore, Grandma, you're all sitting in a mousetrap now.
Die Menschen waren ganz anders drüben. Haben zwar geschimpft auf uns.
The people were swearing at us. We felt we were simply doing our duty, but we were getting scolded from all sides.
Und wurden dann von allen 2 Seiten Westberliner beschimpft.
The West Berliners yelled at us, and the Eastern demonstrators yelled at us. We were standing there in the middle. There was the barbed wire, there were us guards, West Berliners, East Berliners. For a young person, it was terrible.
Sie bitte bis hinter das sowjetische Denkmal zurück. Sie bitte für unsere Anordnungen verständigen.
La ira de los berlineses occidentales explotó. Manifestaban contra la división de su ciudad. No podían creer que los aliados occidentales permitieran esas barreras. Las manifestaciones continuaron, pero la protesta de Occidente fue débil. El alcalde Willy Brandt intentó calmar a la multitud. Temía que hubiera derramamiento de sangre si atacaban la barrera. Los aliados no sabían cómo reaccionar. Los derechos del lado oeste no habían sido violados.
Erstmal waren wir wütend. Dann waren wir enttäuscht.
We were outraged
Der Bürgermeister hatte nicht mal geschafft,
and also disappointed.
die Kommandanten dazu zu bewegen,
The mayor didn't manage to persuade the Allied commanders to make even a small protest.
auszusprechen.
People were not clear what exactly was going on. It was almost 12 hours before it really registered that this was going to be a total sealing of the inner sector borders. Nobody was quite sure what to do about the subject, what exactly was the scope of it. The focus of all of the planners had been on the threat, the possible necessity of having to take military action to block a Soviet move on Berlin. And here suddenly everybody was relieved to find out that the Soviets had found a way to resolve their problem with the refugees in a way that did not affect Allied rights.
Para los aliados, el cierre de la frontera estabilizaba la tensa situación de Berlín. Los ciudadanos comunes y sus familias eran quienes pagaban el precio. En Berlín Oriental, un soldado vio su última oportunidad de escapar.
Dann war die 14 Uhr, habe ich meine Gruppe eingeteilt. Ich war ganz
At 2 o'clock, I assigned tasks to my soldiers.
überall jemand war, das
I was in front, and I spread the others out so that it wouldn't look suspicious. Nobody noticed anything.
von 14 bis 16
From 2 until 4 o'clock, I was thinking about the situation and wondering what was the right decision.
Man verlässt
I would have to leave my parents and my sister.
Aber ich habe dann den Entschluss gefasst und
Finally, I took the decision.
gegen 16 Uhr
I jumped over the barbed wire at 4 o'clock. Then I was in the west, and they received me with a great cheer.
bin mit Hallo
I
empfangen
was the first.
und der Erste.
Tres días después, bloques de concreto reemplazaron a los alambres de púas. A lo largo de la línea limítrofe se levantó el muro de Berlín, que dividió la ciudad en dos. En Berlín Occidental, la moral decayó. La confianza en la protección de los aliados se desmoronó. El alcalde Willy Brandt, enardecido, envió una carta al presidente Kennedy exigiendo que actuara.
Die Idee war eben, nachdem auch in Washington nichts passierte, die ganze
The idea was, since there had been no reaction in Washington,
den Präsidenten darauf aufmerksam zu machen,
we had to make it
dass
clear
hier
to the president
psychologisch ein Einbruch,
that there might be a breakdown in morale, a loss
ein
of trust,
Vertrauenseinbruch, und dass hier
something more than just a
irgendetwas
protest had to be
notwendig ist, dass
done.
man mehr als Protest machen müsste.
I think it's probably putting it mildly to say he was furious. Kennedy felt that he had shown that he was prepared to go to the brink of war, maybe even over the brink of war to defend Berlin, and here he was being criticized for doing nothing by a, as somebody put it, a mere mayor.
Kennedy se dio cuenta de que había que actuar. Era necesaria una señal de que Estados Unidos defendería a Berlín Occidental. Ordenó entonces una muestra de poder. Un grupo de tropas estadounidenses fue enviado a Berlín por la carretera que atravesaba a Alemania Oriental. La idea era probar la reacción de los alemanes orientales y reafirmar el derecho de acceso a Berlín. Los estadounidenses fueron detenidos y contados. Esperaron. y se les permitió pasar. Las tropas llegaron a salvo. El vicepresidente estadounidense Lyndon Johnson viajó a la ciudad en representación de Kennedy. Lo acompañó el general Lucius Clay, héroe del puente aéreo de Berlín. Johnson trajo un mensaje del presidente Kennedy.
He wants you to know that the pledge he has given to the freedom of West Berlin and to the rights of Western access to Berlin is firm.
En el este, las personas arriesgaban sus vidas al tratar de huir a través de las últimas aberturas de la barrera.
All of a sudden, I saw my friend running, and I said to myself, oh my God, you're not going to make it. And I couldn't run. I turned into a pillar of salt. And an elderly woman said to me, go girl, run too. You're still young, run. So I just started running. My friend had hurt her face, but I'd only ripped my sweater. Apart from that, I wasn't hurt. We were incredibly happy. We laughed and cried. We'd just made it.
Muchos otros se lanzaban impulsivamente hacia la libertad.
Und eines Tages kam nicht nach Hause.
One day he didn't return home. I was waiting and waiting. He didn't come during the night or the next day, and I thought, what has happened? And then my brother-in-law came. Don't you know, he said, he's in the West. My whole world collapsed. I had to collect his things from work. It was like collecting the belongings of a dead person.
Posteriormente, Heinz Karsten ayudó a su esposa a escapar. Desde las ventanas que daban al otro lado de los límites, las personas veían el oeste. Ayudar a las personas a escapar se convirtió en una tarea rutinaria para la Brigada de Incendios de Berlín Occidental.
Nachher so, das spielte sich so ein, dass Leute springen wollten und Türme.
It became the custom that people who wanted to escape, people who wanted to leave, would throw little pieces of paper out of the windows into Bernauer Strasse.
Die Nummer, die
The number of the building, the floor, the window. Second or third window was written on it, and the time, for example, 10 o'clock, that they wanted to jump.
Here are perhaps the most dramatic scenes ever to come out of Berlin. Tossing belongings from the window of an apartment overlooking the western border and freedom, an escapee is prepared to jump to safety into a net held by police and firemen of West Berlin. A rescue episode that is even more extraordinary. An attempt is being made by sympathetic Germans to assure the escape of a brave woman. While communist police try to pull her back through the window, below there is freedom's grip. A blood-chilling sequence that the News of the Day camera follows to its dramatic conclusion. She's safe at last.
Los alemanes orientales sellaron también esta última vía de escape. Las personas atravesaban lagos y canales, se adherían a los trenes, se escondían en los autos, escalaban barreras mientras les disparaban. Cientos fallaron, muchos murieron. A pesar del sufrimiento humano, Alemania Oriental justificaba el muro como un símbolo de paz.
When the barbed wire was put up, the main argument was that peace had been saved. It wasn't a question of domestic difficulties. Ulbricht drew a veil of silence over the economic problems. They talked always of the anti-fascist barrier. That's how it was officially described, the protective bulwark.
They did it as a necessity. And I thought, what kind of system is it that can only exist by keeping them with force in their own bailiwick? And the wall was the actual symbol of a defeat, of inferiority.
Las huidas continuaron. Las muertes continuaron. Las líneas telefónicas fueron cortadas. Ahora las dos ciudades no podían comunicarse. En los pocos puntos de acceso de los aliados había gran tensión. En octubre, un diplomático estadounidense fue detenido en el este por los guardias cuando se dirigía a un teatro en Berlín Oriental. Esto se convirtió en un asunto de importancia para los estadounidenses y decidieron ejercer su derecho a libre tránsito en Berlín. Lucius Clay entró de nuevo en escena.
Clay's calculation was that the Soviets were responsible for East Berlin, not the East Germans, and he was determined that the Soviets would recognize their responsibility there.
Para probar la reacción del este, Clay ordenó que soldados armados escoltaran a los vehículos de ida y vuelta a lo largo de las alcabalas de control.
He once told me, he said, I learned early in the game of dealing with the Russians, if the Russians understand one thing, and that's force, that's strength. You must never negotiate or deal with the Russians without having a position of strength.
Para dar fuerza a su posición, Clay movilizó tanques hacia la alcabala. Los rusos trajeron sus propios tanques y armas. Los cañones de ambos lados estaban frente a frente.
The telephone rang in the command post. He said, let me speak to General Clay. I said, he's not here. Who is this? He said, this is the military police officer at Checkpoint Charlie. He said, holy Christ, he said, the Russians have rolled in here in force. He said, they've got tanks. He said, the balloon's getting ready to go up. He said, the defecation is about to hit the fan.
The situation was dangerous. The tanks stood facing each other. Our tank crews were told to exercise restraint, to give no grounds for provocation.
The dead seriousness of it became more intense with each hour. The Western forces went on alert, Strategic Air Command went on alert, NATO went on alert, troops were being cranked up around the world, and one never knew if the intensity of the situation in Berlin escalated, where would be the next sore point.
Khrushchev ordered the commander of Soviet troops in Germany that if the West used force, they should respond with force.
Я как раз сидел в генеральном штабе, когда проходил съезд.
I had a phone by one ear receiving information from Soviet military headquarters in Germany. The other phone was connected to the Kremlin. As soon as I got the information, I reported to the Kremlin what was happening at Friedrichstrasse.
President Kennedy had sent a message to Khrushchev through a new private channel that had been established only a month earlier for a back channel between the White House and Khrushchev, and that President Kennedy had asked Khrushchev to take the first move.
The Americans sent a message. It said, in order for us to move our tanks without losing face, you should move your tanks back to a certain distance. Our tanks stood 200 meters from the Americans.
The lead Soviet tank cranked up his engine and backed up some 5 or 10 meters, and we received instructions to have the American tanks to withdraw exactly the same distance.
It wasn't a good enough reason to start a war. Khrushchev himself said, "We're not unleashing a third world war because of Berlin." The Americans realized that too.
Los soldados se retiraron, pero el muro permaneció. Los alemanes orientales lo hicieron más alto y lo reforzaron con defensas, cableados y trampas para los tanques. Durante el primer año, 50 alemanes murieron al tratar de pasar al oeste. Uno de ellos fue Peter Fecta, de 18 años.
The Americans gathered, the soldiers gathered on one side, not doing anything. And on the other side, the GDR, the Vorpost, the police there, was standing on their side, not doing anything. And this young man was huddled. I remember he was lying like an S shape. And first he screamed, he cried, he shouted for help. And as the hours went on, his voice got weaker and weaker. It was so heart-rending that in the middle of nowhere was a human being dying, and two groups was facing each other, too worried to act because they didn't know what the other one was going to do. It was really horrible. He was just standing there and you thought, he's just dying and you can't do anything. I mean, I've never been in that situation before, neither after, where you actually see a person dying and you can't do anything. And I'm sure everyone else around me felt the same.
El muro fue el símbolo supremo de la crueldad de la Guerra Fría y de la división de Europa. Su mensaje era amargo. Lo que pase más allá de esa línea quizá causaría pena en Occidente, mas no intervendrían.
The wall was a way out, really, for Khrushchev. And although the Berlin affair continued to be discussed, it was no longer in a state of crisis as it had been before the war.
En 1963, el presidente Kennedy visitó Berlín Occidental.
Is indivisible. And when one man is enslaved, all are not free. When all are free, then we can look forward to that day when this city will be joined as one, and this country, and this great continent of Europe in a peaceful and hopeful globe. When that day finally comes, as it will, the people of West Berlin can take sober satisfaction in the fact that they were in the front lines for almost 2 decades. All free men, wherever they may live, are citizens of Berlin. And therefore, as a free man, I take pride in the words, Ich bin ein Berliner.